Stand by SOT1.
Standing.
10 seconds. Ready, rolling. Ready, SOT1.
Ready.
In 4, 3, 2, 1. Roll in.
From legendary Uncle Studios in beautiful Southern California, welcome to another edition of Work Comp Matters, the central location for you employees, you employers, and of course we haven't forgotten about you damn independent contractors. And now, here's this week's edition of Work Comp Matters.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's a beautiful Monday, November 29th, 2021, from legendary Uncle's Studios in Van Nuys, California. Welcome to another edition of Work Comp Matters. My name is Mark Appel. I am sitting in for Brother Steve today, who is doing actual Work Comp Matters stuff. As hard as it is to believe, he actually sometimes does do Work Comp Matters, and that's what he's doing today. And it is a pleasure and a privilege to be here today for the post-Thanksgiving edition of Work Comp Matters. Work Comp Matters is brought to you by mancavepodcasting.com. If you want to do your own podcast, all you have to do is talk anywhere in the world. All you need to do is have a smartphone or a computer, and mancavepodcasting.com will manage, produce, direct, and put your podcast into the cloud forever, for all one low fee of $50. $50. That's mancavepodcasting.com. All you have to do is talk. And I love that name, mancavepodcasting.com. As I said, this is the post-Thanksgiving edition of Work Comp Matters. I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday with family and friends and good food and football. And whether you took 3 days off or 4 days or 5, back to work, everybody. Time to get going again. Joining us, as always, is the legendary madman across the water from Munich, Germany, John Scalia. How you doing, John?
I'm doing really well. We had another day of snow here today in Munich. And, it's actually quite beautiful when it snows here. I love it because we don't get a real snowstorm.
I think it's beautiful where it snows anywhere, but it's about 80 and sunny here outside my office in Woodland Hills. So it's kind of pick your poison with the weather there. But that is the one thing you do not get here in Southern California. But we are going to get to John in a moment for some wonderful leftist socialist rants. But for now, I want to talk really quick about, as we know, John's going to talk a little bit about Omicron in a moment, but the new COVID variant, because as we know, all news is all COVID all the time. We're 21 months into this thing and, no sign of it ending anytime soon. I think about a year ago, I predicted a 5-year plan, which is scary as hell. But it does, with an interesting twist today, that today is the deadline for all military service members to get the vaccine or to face disciplinary action. And it made me think for a moment about something that I had a discussion with Steve about, whether employers have the right to require their employees to get the vaccine. And that raises a second question as to whether the state or the government has the right to require the employers to require the employees to get the vaccine. What do you think, John?
Well, the military, of course, is a special case. I don't think there's any question that the military can order its members to get vaccines if they decide that that's what they want them to do. Obviously the military is a kind of voluntary servitude. During my day, there was also involuntary servitude if you got drafted. But now it's an all volunteer force, so it's voluntary servitude.
Okay.
In terms of employers, I don't see why employers can't, as a public health measure, require employees to be vaccinated. I mean, what they can rely on is the fact that the medicine says that that's the safest thing to do, and they want the workplace to be a safe environment. I'll have more comments about that when I read the first article about Omicron, which may actually cast some doubt on whether or not that's completely accurate. But anyway, I from a legal standpoint, I think they do.
Yeah, and I agree too. I don't have any issue with the employers requiring employees and to get the vaccine. As we all know, the notable exceptions to getting the vaccine is either a health or a religious exemption. And I'd like to know, John, as somebody, you are probably familiar with all sorts of religion, including voodoo and black magic. Tell me what religion says you can't get a vaccine besides those. What are they? Are they Jehovah's Witnesses or Christian Scientists? You know, what does Catholicism prevent it, or Protestantism? I mean, I'm a Jew, and I don't think anywhere it says don't get the vaccine. So you tell me, if you know, what religion says you can't get a vaccine?
As far as I know, no major religion prohibits their people from getting vaccines. Certainly Catholicism does not. No Protestant mainline sects do. As far as I know, JWs, Jehovah's Witnesses, don't prohibit it either. They prohibit blood transfusions, which is quite something else, but they don't prohibit vaccines. So as far as I'm aware, there's no really major religion and no really minor religion of any note that says you shouldn't get a vaccine. I think most of the people claiming a religious exemption to vaccines are just reaching for straws and trying to invent a reason why they don't want to get the vaccine, and they don't want to say, well, I just don't want it. So they're hiding behind religious freedom.
And yet you've still got these nut bars claiming religious freedom, that it's against my religion. Well, tell me what religion it is, you know? And that it reminds me of this. Over the past year, there were these people getting arrested for selling or buying fake vaccination cards for $500. And I was thinking to myself, hey, I got a way you can get it for free. Just get the damn vaccine. Okay. And yet it's just amazing to me. And forgive me, because I come back to Trump. If he had been more behind this from the beginning, I think you'd have probably 75% more compliance than you do right now. And I do think that you're pushing 75, 80, even 90% in some areas of people getting the vaccine. So slowly but surely it's working. But think about all of the lives that have been lost, all of the probably hundreds of billions of dollars and jobs, and so much of our society is impacted by this. So people, if you haven't done it, just do it already. Well, what's the point? I mean, I've had both, and I've had my booster, so I'm ready for the next one. And I know you're vaccinated, John, right?
Yeah, I am. And I just got, we're a little behind in Germany on the boosters. I just got my letter 2 days ago from the health minister telling me that I could register for the booster. And I talked to a friend yesterday who said, the earliest he could get it was January, which, doesn't really bother me. I mean, I'm training for, I'm running a 10K on Saturday. Despite my chronological age, I don't really think I'm in a high risk category. I didn't think I was in a high category to begin with. So, I'm not really that concerned about it. I mean, I will get the booster as soon as I can get it. I don't see any downside to it. That's the reason. I actually don't think I need it. I don't think I needed the first 2 shots. But I don't see a downside to it. Besides that, in Munich, other than going shopping or going into a drug, what you guys call a drugstore, what we call the apotheca here, because the drugstore is something else here. You can go in any store without being vaccinated. Although not the apothecas now. You can go to the shopping mall without proof of vaccination, but basically almost anywhere else now in Munich, you have to show proof of vaccination. And for some of the venues, they're actually requiring, for instance, like a theater or whatever. Now they're requiring that you, in addition to having the proof that you're fully vaccinated, that you have a negative quick test within 72 hours of the venue. So but nobody in Munich is arguing about it, not much anyway. But but then again, Europeans are used to following the directions of their governments, for better or for worse.
Apparently not so much in Austria, if I am knowing my current events. Aren't they shut down entirely right now?
Oh, well, they've shut down, yeah, but actually that's because of the, they have a low vaccination rate. And as Konrad Adenauer, who was the first chancellor of West Germany, was fond of pointing out, Hitler was an Austrian.
Yeah.
And there's a famous quote from Adenauer, because the Austrians had the chutzpah to want reparations from Germany. And Adenauer said, they want reparations. I'll tell them what. He says, I'll send them Hitler's legs.
I don't somehow, you know what? They might have value on eBay or the open market, right? Yeah. But anyway, let's do some headlines, John. Go ahead, take it away.
Okay, Omicron variant spreads globally, sparking fears of winter COVID-19 surge. Facing a global spread of the COVID-19 Omicron variant, U.S. health officials said it will probably take 2 weeks to fully determine the level of threat, but pushed coronavirus booster shots as a key first stage in the battle. President Biden met with top health advisors Sunday to map out a strategy as new cases were confirmed in more global locations, including Germany, Italy, Belgium, Israel, and Hong Kong. In Amsterdam, 13 on on flights from South Africa in the region where Omicron is believed to have originated tested positive. In England, officials imposed stricter mask rules in response to the discovery of 2 cases. The Biden administration on Sunday stressed the need for vigilant adherence to existing COVID-19 safety practices, notably vaccinations and booster shots. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the government's top infectious disease expert, who's getting to be about as familiar as all your local news guys, said a new winter COVID-19 wave is possible, but the vaccinations are the best way right now to combat another spike. And it goes on and on. I have this to comment. I mean, in all honesty, I'm probably not alone. I have COVID-19 weariness. I know I'm sick of the whole thing, to be honest. And I don't think I'm alone in that. The other thing is, I would say that all this discovery of new variants is just making all these health officials look like the Three Stooges. I mean, honestly, in the beginning they said, well, it's a learning curve. Well, apparently it's a learning curve for imbeciles, because all they do is repeat the same stuff over and over. Oh, there's a new variant. Wash your hands. Get your shot. I mean, really, it's not exactly thrilling insights into the new variant. I'm going to start calling the new variant, instead of Omicron, I'm going to call it OMG, for oh my God. Meaning we're running out of Greek letters, so we might as well just say that, because after all,
is it
tomorrow.
Are we going to get the new strain? It's eventually going to be double alpha. I'm not sure what they're going to do.
Or the alpha, beta, gamma.
Right. And it's interesting, though, because right below that story that you just read is another story from Reuters with Fauci telling Biden it's going to take 2 weeks to have a definitive date on the Omicron variant. Definitive data. And I mean, that makes sense, but it's unfortunate, because I think when you combine this COVID fatigue that everybody in the world, and certainly the US, is having, these new variants come out, and the bottom line is we just don't know what's going on. And it really is a shame, because you want people to have trust in their government. And that's probably another reason why some of these nut bars won't get the vaccine. But when it comes out and they're warning people, but wait, we won't know for 2 weeks. Yeah.
Now look, as I've said before, I mean, I'm 75 years old, all right? I mean, let's face it, old people are supposed to die. I mean, that's the way the normal curve works. More old people die than young people. What a shock. The people with comorbidities are supposed to die. What a shock. They're not in good health. They die first. I mean, to some extent, it seems to me that there's a lot of hysteria over the fact that, well, we've accelerated the rate of people who are dying, who are going to die anyway in general. The fatigue is getting to the point where, it's almost becoming a comedy routine.
Yeah. Well, John, would you consider yourself old or just extremely middle-aged?
Oh, no, I'm old. I mean, come on. let's get real here. I mean, 75.
Well, we're all living longer now, right? I mean, my father's 87 and he's still kicking. He's doing well. I'm going to knock a little bit there.
I agree. I mean, I'm old. I'm not dead, and hopefully I'll live to be as old as your dad. But we're obviously. I mean, your dad is already at beyond the average age for an American to die. The average age for an American male to die is
81.
No, it's like 77 now.
Yeah, but I think we're living longer. I think we're all living longer anyway.
No, this is a recent stat. I just saw it, brand new, updated, because Corona lowered the life expectancy, and the average American male now has a life expectancy of about 77. So yeah, your dad's beating the odds. Hopefully, I'll beat the odds too. But I mean, basically, that data is when you're programmed to die. I mean, let's face it. I mean, we all die, and our bodies are in a never-ending process of disappearing. Okay, I mean, we've all got a built-in wear-out ratio that's biological, and no amount of medicine has yet to get around that. Everyone dies.
You know what, John? I was in such a good mood before I started this podcast, and now I'm thoroughly depressed. So before we move on, I just want to remind everybody that Work Comp Matters is brought to you by mancavepodcasting.com. If you want to do your own podcast, all you have to do is talk anywhere in the world. All you need is a smartphone, a tablet, or a computer, and mancavepodcasting.com will manage, produce, direct, and put your podcast in the cloud forever for one low fee of $50. That's mancavepodcasting.com. All you have to do is talk. John, back to you for the next headline.
Oh, this one was too good not to read. Butte County town declares itself constitutional republic.
I love that.
Yeah. The Northern California town of Oroville in rural Butte County has declared itself a, quote, constitutional republic, close quote, in response to COVID health mandates imposed by Governor Gavin Newsom, the latest sign of strife between Sacramento and California's rural regions. The Oroville Town Council adopted a resolution stating it would oppose state and federal orders it deemed government overreach. A legal expert said the designation was merely a symbolic gesture. Butte County, with a population of 220,000, has one of the state's lowest vaccination rates, probably also one of the lowest education rates. As of Saturday, 47% of its residents were fully vaccinated, compared with 64% of all Californians. There's a reason people live in those areas. I mean, generally, they don't want to have anything to do with everybody else. Apparently, they've never heard of the legal system where they can go to court and argue that the mandates are unconstitutional or the government overreach is unconstitutional. Apparently, they just decided that, the Civil War really wasn't lost by the South, so they can secede from California.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. And I think it's symbolic. But what are you really symbolizing here? That we have the right to be stupid and we have the right to take valuable town council time and say, hey, man, you don't want to be part of California anymore, then you don't have to take any California tax dollars, which I'm sure you're not cutting those off.
Yes. Well, here we have an interesting article from NPR. As Omicron spreads, studies suggest that travel bans alone don't do much good. When the Omicron variant of COVID-19 was first identified in South Africa, the country's scientists were quick to inform global health leaders of the new mutations they had found. Though scientists have little information about the new variant, that's an understatement, and aren't certain where it originated, several countries, including the US, Canada, the United Kingdom, and the European Union, announced almost immediate travel bans from South Africa and other Southern African nations. As the week began, Japan followed suit with far more restrictive measures. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida announced Monday the decision to reestablish entry rules for foreign travelers to limit any potential spread of the Omicron variant. And it goes on, but it points out that there's the director of the Yale Institute of Global Health, Saeed Omer, said there is very little utility of these kinds of bans. Unfortunately, from what we know about the epidemiology of SARS-CoV-2 and the epidemiology of this variant, the horse probably left the barn, Omar said, noting that the high transmissibility of this coronavirus and its variants. So there you have it. So basically, everybody's in a panic, and they're going to shut the borders because, as we all know, unlike migrants, germs and viruses respect borders and travel bans.
Yeah. Well, it's something, right? You got to do something. I mean, we did shut off from South Africa, right? I don't remember if we shut off from anywhere else though, right now.
Well, yeah. I mean, of course, Japan loves shutting itself off anyway. I mean, if you know the history of Japan, they're notoriously anti-foreigner. But and England is always anti-foreigner anyway. They just spend political leaders just want to pretend that they're doing something that's going to help, and that means doing something and saying that it's going to help. But again, the science says, well, travel ban probably doesn't do much. It just makes your constituents feel better that you're, taking action to protect them.
Well, look at, New Zealand, when this all started, they completely shut down. And they were able to, I think they didn't have a COVID case for a year until 3 to 6 months ago, where they had one or two, and then they shut down completely again. So I realize you can't really compare a country the size of New Zealand to the U.S., obviously, and even Japan or England. But isn't there something to be said for not just symbolically doing something that makes it look like you're doing something, but actually trying to do something?
Well, it always helps to try, but I think you're right. I mean, if you're a small island country, you can effectively seal yourself off from the world. And of course, that will give you immunity from transmissible diseases, assuming that they're from outside. Yeah. But as you say, Japan is a small island country. I mean, well, it's a small island. It's not a small country. And right. Same with England. England is pretty much a small country. In fact, England's not even a small island. England's only half an island.
We're sort of an island. We're sort of an island also, aren't we?
Well, America's almost a continent, really. I mean, the reality is America is really huge. England is like I say, England shares its island with Scotland, and Scotland pretty soon is going to leave. So they're not even an island. I mean, at least Japan.
I think they've been trying to do that for 1,000 years, right? It didn't work out too well for Mel Gibson and Braveheart. So I don't think that's happening anytime soon.
Oh, it is happening soon. I mean, the Scottish elections, the Scottish National Party, which is the independent party, is the biggest party in Scotland by far. And they won a huge majority in the last election. And their platform is, we want out. And the only reason that they can't hold a plebiscite is because Boris Johnson won't let them. And the Constitution of the United Kingdom says that they can only have that plebiscite if the democracy in London says they can. And so Boris Johnson says, no, you can't, because, it was a once in a generation thing. And they said, well, the difference is that back when we had the plebiscite originally, the question was whether or not we stayed in the EU. And now that's, you're out of the EU. So everything has changed. So how can you say that our once in a generation vote was actually valid when all the circumstances surrounding it are different? I mean, it probably would be a close vote even now in Scotland, but they might well decide to be their own country, and they can do it. I mean, they've got the resources, they've got the governmental organizations. I mean, Scotland would be okay as its own country.
Yeah, but and I can't take Boris Johnson seriously. Every time I look at that guy, he has perennial bedhead. Somebody's got to, introduce that guy to a comb or a brush or even a shampoo, because you take one look at that guy and he either looks perpetually drunk or he just woke up. So I just can't. I look at him and I just laugh. Now they might be laughing when they look at me, but I'm not a leader of a country. I'm just a poor, stupid lawyer.
I just call him Trump light. He's basically Donald Trump light. He's definitely more intelligent than Donald Trump, and he's quite engaging, actually. I mean, if you've ever listened to Boris on the stump, Boris is quite entertaining. I mean, he can be quite charming to an audience. Trump just plays to his base, but Boris can pretty much charm anybody, I think. And he is reasonably intelligent, but unfortunately, he's also very, very reactionary.
Yeah, well, I'll try and close my eyes the next time I am seeing him and just listen, because if I'm looking, the visual part of me takes over from what my ears are hearing, and I got to tune them out. Let's do one. You got one final headline for us, John?
I do, if I can get down to it. Let me see. It's about the new data on the Merck pill, which originally Merck said it was going to be 80% effective against anything really serious with COVID. But now, as it turns out, they've got new data, and it looks like it may only be 50% effective if you take it. So the new study on the Merck shot, or pill rather, which was supposed to be, was touted as almost being a magic bullet if you began with the symptoms of COVID, turns out that, well, like most magic bullets, it doesn't really exist. And, it may be helpful, but it's not all that great. So that's the new data on the Merck shot.
That's not so good, is it?
Not. The other thing is that Merriam-Webster has declared vaccine to be the word of the year, which, okay, it's pretty obvious that it's the most commonly looked up word, I guess. I mean, I can't imagine. Apparently, people didn't know what vaccines were. I don't know. But all I can say is, it seems to me that if they want to make it a word of the year, what they should do is it should be vaxxer, anti-vaxxer. Because, really, that's a new word, and it's just come into the vocabulary more or less in lots now, whereas vaccine's been around forever. And it's kind of a boring selection for a word of the year. So Merriam-Webster once again disappoints.
They picked vaccine as
Yes.
the word of the year. Yeah, I would have gone with anti-vaxxer personally, like you said. I don't know that, and it's a shame about Merck. But if you talk to my brother Mike, he's basically convinced that Novavax is going to save the world. And I think they're getting in places like Indonesia and others. I don't understand half of that. It's like talking to me about crypto. That should be the word of the year, crypto. Another word that I know absolutely nothing about, but apparently it's doing well enough that they can have the naming rights for the Staples Center for $700 million for the next 20 years or something like that.
Well, if you listen or read about COP26, 7, whichever it was.
Let's assume I haven't.
You'll realize that nothing is going to save the world.
Well, yeah.
Certainly the world leaders don't give a damn. I mean,
don't tell my brother Mike. He's all in on Novavax. He has been there for. Yeah.
Well, that's true. When the planet becomes uninhabitable, no matter what kind of medicine we have, it ain't going to matter, is it? I mean, really, if it's an uninhabitable planet, what difference does it make what kind of vaccines you have or what kind of medicine you have?
As long as I have Netflix and my satellite dish, so I can get NFL, I'll be fine. So we're coming up on 1 minute. Before we do final thoughts, I want to remind everybody that Work Comp Matters today has been brought to you by mancavepodcasting.com. If you want to do your own podcast, all you have to do is talk anywhere in the world. All you need is a smartphone, tablet, or computer. Mancavepodcasting.com will manage, produce, direct, and put your podcast in the cloud forever for one low fee of $50. That's mancavepodcasting.com. All you have to do is talk. John, 30 seconds. Final thoughts.
Well, if all you want are Netflix and NFL, you can have them both in Germany. We have Netflix here, and one of the stations broadcasts 2 NFL games every Sunday live.
Yeah, but I get Sunday tickets, so I can get it all because I'm big into fantasy football and Survivor. So I need the whole shebang.
Can't help
all
you
right.
there.
Yeah. Okay, that's going to conclude another edition of Work Comp Matters. Thanks to John Scalia, the madman across the water. Thanks to Scott from legendary Uncle Studios in Van Nuys. Steve, thank you for letting us mind the store. My name is Mark Appel. Everybody have a great day and happy holidays. Scott, take us out.